this is Aaron Norland from Westsail 32 Asia Marie. I wanted to take a moment to make this video to discuss how we have been keeping our dinghy safe while at anchor. Traditionally, we used a dinghy painter to let the dinghy just sort of float around out aft of the boat while we were at anchor. The problem we had, though, is that as the tide became slack or the wind became counter to the tide, it would start to come and rub up against the boat, sometimes right against the wind vane, which has some fairly sharp corners. Nowadays, we've decided to use this bridle system to keep the dinghy up and high out of the water. This allows us to prevent a few things. One, the rubbing against the hull. Two, theft, which is a major consideration in some places. Around here, it's not so big of a deal, but for some areas, it's kind of a big consideration. Also, it lets the dinghy stay drained, and if we're going to be sitting at anchor for a few days, no growth will start on it. It's pretty nice. So, what we have is just a simple 3-point strap system on the dinghy. 2 aft, 1 forward. The forward of them is shorter so that the dinghy's bow sits higher. That way it'll drain. To this is attached a 4-part tackle, and that tackle is made off to a rope strap around the boom. In this case, I use one of the legs of reef point, but any sort of rope strap that's of appropriate strength would work. To that is attached the main halyard, which in this case is acting as a topping lift. This is important because the main halyard is then directly above the point that the dinghy is attached. I don't suggest using the main topping lift at the end of a boom if the dinghy is going to be attached to the middle of the boom, because it would induce a bending in the boom that probably would not be very healthy, especially if there was any sort of seaway. So, to set the system up, it's really easy. I take the main halyard from the head, bring it aft, attach it to the rope strap, then attach the tackle. Then I bring the dinghy up forward, attach the straps, and all is well there. Then I'll get on deck, hoist the main boom up using the topping lift or the main halyard so that it's about 4 to 5 feet higher than normal. Then I use a boom vang to haul the boom out and away from the boat. This way, when I haul on the tackle, the dinghy will raise into the air without rubbing against the hull. After the dinghy is raised up, I try and fairly two-block the blocks. After the dinghy is up to that point, I ease the vang and take up on the main sheet, which will then haul the dinghy up tight against the hip of the boat. For us, we've found that if the boat is rocking some, the dinghy will tend to pivot in and out and in and out, so we also take a line from the bow of the dinghy to a stanchion just to keep it from beginning any of that rocking. With this system, it's very easy to get the dinghy out. I find it to be just as easy, really, as using a pennant. It takes about 5 minutes for me to set up, and it's not particularly challenging to lift the dinghy out with the 4-part system. I would highly suggest this for anyone who is trying to find a new way to keep their dinghy out of the water or just in a safer position while at anchor. Just remember to make sure that all of your hardware is up to the task and keep the topping lift directly above the load. Happy sailing!